my name is Shannon and this is going to be my Vogue Knitting Live New York recap. This is just a recap of my experience of going to the marketplace on Friday evening. I have been going to Vogue for many years, and sometimes I've taken classes or participated in other events, and sometimes I go on Saturday, sometimes I go on Friday. This year I just decided to go on Friday. I had a very short shopping list, and I figured Friday would be the most accessible day for me to go in, and also for seeing everything in a pretty short time window. So that is what I ended up doing. It is now Saturday. Vogue is still continuing. Vogue can be a 4-day event if you are into that type of thing. There are a bunch of classes and lectures and opportunities to meet makers and yarn vendors and everything. The marketplace starts on Friday night. It is usually 3 hours from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and then it opens again Saturday all day, I think 10 to 4 or 5, and then 10 to 4 or 5, maybe 6 on Sunday. And then there are sometimes satellite events at local yarn shops and stuff like that. So although the local yarn shops that I know of, aside from Pearl Soho, which is mostly online these days, or is completely online as far as I know, they all were there. So they all had booths, like Brooklyn General, Argyle, and Nitty City all had booths at Vogue, which is great. Good business for them too, and their customers can come to Vogue and see the specials and stuff that they're highlighting. That is in a nutshell what the event is like. I this year just wanted to shop, and I had prepared a shopping list. If you were here last week, you'll know that I had a shopping list in mind for Vogue, and I shared swatches and things like that. And this is what I wore. This is the Throwback sweater. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt myself. This is the Throwback sweater by Andrea Mowry, knit out of yarn that I purchased at Vogue from Kim Dye's Yarn in 2019, I want to say. Yeah, I'm almost positive it was 2019, January 2019. It's a Polworth silk yarn, DK weight. It's beautiful. I love it. I got a lot of compliments on my outfit. I was wearing this pretty turquoise and brown, earth tone, beaded and embroidered skirt, vintage skirt. So it was really fun combo, and I was super comfortable. It was perfect for the Vogue event can get very warm. So if you're there today, you're probably sweating already because all that body heat can really, and a lot of people in sweaters, you can really end up being very warm. Just talk you through how I did. So this was one of the swatches that I was interested in matching a mohair to, so that I could do the Milton, the newly released Milton sweater by Locatelli. It's kind of a shawl collar, drapey, stockinette, wool. 4 rows of stockinette wool alternating with 4 rows of mohair, lace weight mohair. So this is hand spun that I made last year in 2023, exactly about a year ago. I had bought the fiber from Green Goat Ranch, and it was my fiber countdown, one of my fiber countdown calendars for December of 2022. And it was, I think it was, if I recall right, it was 6 2-ounce fiber bumps, and she called it Beach Rainbow, and I wanted to spin it in rainbow order, and I did a fractal spin, which means you'll get areas of solid color like this alternating with areas that are marled, and you can see some of those stripings and marled barber pole moments that are happening in this skein that I've caked. So I actually have 3 skeins of it. I have about 1,200 yards, I want to say, which is a lot more than I need for this sweater. That's fine. I will knit it into something for me, and then probably something for Julie, and that'll be all of it. So anyway, I met up with my friend Lorian. She is Yarn Love Turtle on Instagram. She does a lot of Instagram lives updating us on her knitting. And she had volunteered to bring me some skeins of mohair that I might consider. She's not a mohair fan. She prefers Surrey silk instead of mohair. So she offered them to me and said, you know, I'll never knit with them. If you think you will, you're welcome to take them. So she brought them in with the idea that perhaps they would work with this. And while I do think they would work, I don't think they were what I'm interested in making or combining. I don't want to combine either one of these with this. I really wanted something kind of soft and pastel-like that would kind of be the background for this beautiful handspun that has a lot going on. But I appreciated the skeins nonetheless. These will get added to my stash and I will use them for something for sure. I don't have any gold mohair. I do have a skein of rust. I don't know if it's Bien Aimée rust, but I do have a skein of rust yarn, of rust mohair that I've used some of it. So it's nice to have more in case I want to use it. So we went right when the market opened. We met up early around 4, and we just found a table in the marquee. The event Vogue Knitting Live, all the years that I've been going, has been in the Marriott Marquee in Midtown. It's on 46th Street and 7th Avenue, so right in the heart of Times Square. So it's very chaotic there. I have some footage that you'll see later when we're walking over to dinner of Times Square. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Like, it's a tourist destination for sure, but I also feel like locals, New Yorkers, go in and just for the fun of it. I mean, it's free entertainment to go there. Anyway, so we met up, we chatted and, you know, spent an hour sitting and knitting and catching up, and then we went down to line up for the marketplace, and it was like the shortest line that I ever remember on a Friday evening. We were like maybe 4 or 5 people back from the doors. They opened the doors. We made a plan to go directly to Brooklyn General Store, which was where Amy from Bien Aimée was hanging out and selling her yarn. Catherine from Brooklyn General had gotten a booth, and she was selling exclusively Bien Aimée yarn. She had other things that were not yarn, but as far as I saw, everything was Bien Aimée. And Lorian, my friend Lorian, wanted to buy a kit that would make the black version of Milton. So we made a beeline to Brooklyn General, and we saw that Amy was standing off by herself at first with just like one person, chatting with one person. So we went right over there to meet her and get pictures with her. And I asked her then what color of hers would she recommend I buy, and I really wanted to buy her mohair because the yardage is required for the size that I want to make is 550 yards, and that's how much her mohair skeins have. They're about 100 yards more than like our typical like anyone else's mohair, 450 versus 550. So I was willing to pay the extra money to avoid having to buy 2 skeins from someone else. So extra because like her skeins are $38 if you buy them here, where everyone else's are like 30 or 32. So it's a little extra money, but you're also getting extra yardage. So I asked her what she thought, and she recommended her Yellow Brick Road, which is kind of a golden color, similar, not too bad, not too far off of this. Although not speckled like this is or variegated like this one is. So I was like, I don't think I want that. And she was like, there's this other color called Honey Rose that you might also want to look at. And so I went over, I was like, okay, great, thank you. Went over and stood in line with Lorian. Lorian was getting black, so that was very easy. And we asked Catherine to bring Honey Rose over. And then I saw this other color, the one I ultimately ended up buying, which is called Heliodore. And it just seemed like the right color, because it's gonna kind of, I know it's a speckle, but these speckles and variegations are going to really fade out when it's just a single strand making stockinette fabric. So I think it's a really great match for what I wanted the yarn to do with my handspun, which has a lot going on. So I was super happy with this. I'm excited to cast on. I don't know when that's going to happen, but soon. So there's that. And from there we wandered the marketplace, and because I had another thing in mind that I wanted, and Lauren was looking for her own things too. So we spent a lot of time like looking for colors. We were both looking for fairly bright colors, and a lot of what we saw was earth tones. And we both wanted brights. Like I was looking for mid-tone colors. If you watched last week, you'll know that I talked about this sweater already, but I'm going to just do it again in case there's people here that haven't watched last week's episode, my episode 2. I'm wanting to knit Sunshine on my shoulder, which is an 8-color DK weight sweater, basically one skein of each, except for one color needs 2 skeins. The third color does. So I have these in order. I have color 1, 2. I'm missing 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm missing 7 and 8. So I needed 2 shades of blue that would gradiate from here. And I needed a color that would help me transition from this pale pink to this rusty color. So I was hoping for something like a corally bright, like a bright coral, peachy pink that would just help that transition be a little smoother. And I struggled because I could not, like, it just seemed like after a while we both were like, she was looking for a red and a green, 2 separate projects. I'm looking for these bright blues or this bright coral pink. So we got to the point where we were just looking in booths going, nope, all earth tones, and we just kept going because we both wanted bright colors. Occasionally we'd foray into the booth and pull out a skein and go, no, not wowed by this, this isn't the one. And we finally, for me anyway, I mean, Lorian saw others that she didn't like. She took a lot of pictures to think about it. I'll let her tell her story. But we stumbled into at Haynes' house booth full of bright colors, full of people, and just lovely family-owned business. And I saw this. Actually, Lorian saw this and was like, maybe that's the color you want. And it is just gorgeous. It's such a pretty corally peachy pink. And I was like, oh, this will be great. So one of the owners, Terri, she saw me and she was like, what are we shopping for? It was really amazing. She's like, can I help? What are you shopping for? So I told her the pattern. She quickly whipped out her phone and looked up the pattern. She was like, oh, that's really great. And I was like, yeah, I have these 5 colors. I need, I need a shade that'll help me transition. What do you think of this? And she took the swatch from me. She looked at it. She looked at me and she goes, this pink right here is not your color. And I was like, yeah, I know. Pastels really don't work on me very well. They just make me look washed out. So she was like, yeah, don't have it next to your face. And then she's looking at the pattern and she's like, oh, that's the color that's going to be next to your face. She goes, I think you should use this next to your face. And I was like, okay, I agree. This pink is tough for me. I'm happy to put that in slot 2, but I still need slot 3. And so then she went over to her wall and she pulled out this. And she was like, what about this? Or maybe Lorian pulled it. I don't know, because Lorian was standing right there. But anyway, somebody put this in my hand and I was like, oh, yeah, those go together so well. It's actually kind of funny. It's not that different from what I'm wearing color-wise. Like, it goes together. I'm wearing the Rumble Raglan by Lydia Morrow that I did in a bunch of scraps and leftover yarns. It was really fun. Fun knit. Highly recommend. So yeah, these 2 will now replace the pale pink, and they'll help me make that transition from the pinks to the oranges. I mean, it's not like a simple transition. It's more of like, here's your pinks, here's your oranges, and now here's your blues, which that's fine. I'm fine with that. So yeah, I think this is good. I think this is a good call. And then that yellow will be the sun. She didn't have anything, unfortunately, that would help me finish out the blue gradient. So we kept going. We kept looking. Oh, and I ended up buying 2 skeins of this bright pink. Oh, and the colors, if you're interested, this one's called Pink Terri. And the story is that she said all the colorways and names have stories. The story with this one is that when she dyed this, her son is a co-dyer with her, and he was like, another pink? And then he was so funny. He was checking me out, and I said, I heard the story about the pink. And he was like, yeah, she's got like 45 of them. So like, did we need a 46th one? And I'm like, well, I'm happy she made it. And this color is called We Listen. I don't remember the story about it. She does have a little note here that says, all 5 Haynes have been a listening ear for many people. If you need to talk, there's a 1-800 number, 1-800-WE-LISTEN. Oh, that's so cool. So maybe they're like community helpers. I love that. I love that idea. Love the color. Really love the color. And I neglected to say what the yarn is. It is 100% superwash merino, and it is 100 grams, 231 yards. So DK weight. So right exactly what I needed for this pattern. So we continued to hunt for the 2 shades of blue that I needed, and then we went on continuing to look, and I knew Asylum Fibers was there and that there would be bright colored yarn there, but I got distracted by another booth, because one of the other things, the challenges that I was having was that there are a lot of indie dyers at Vogue, and which is great if you're into indie dyed yarns, but there's also a group of commercial companies, as well as a smaller group of farm to yarn people, like Morehouse Farms was there, and Wing and a Prayer finally had her own booth. I've never seen her with her own booth. I did pop in there to just check out what she had. I didn't buy anything because, again, I'm trying to keep my stash down, and I'm trying to keep my stash that I need for future projects at the store or in the company's hands until I need it. So that is the plan. So I'm only buying when I have a particular project in mind and I need a skein or 2 that I can combine with some of my stash yarn to help make the project and make the project exciting instead of unexciting, as if I were making something like, for example, like when I was planning this project, I do in fact have 8 skeins, 8 different colored skeins that did make a gradient, but it was very dull color wise. Like it was too pastel-y neutral for me. So it just wasn't making my heart sing. So I was like, I'm not gonna spend time making something that just uses up yarn. Like that's not enough for me. I need to I can see how if I just added a couple poppy colors, like colors that really wow me, combined with some of the colors that I have, I'd get there. So that's the way I have been operating in terms of yarn purchases for the last couple years, in an effort to de-stash or knit through stash that I have. So I've been doing really well. Last year especially. You can see my recap if you're curious about my purchases and stuff. I do a annual recap at the beginning of each year. So just 2 episodes back, episode 1, I talk about my recap from 2023 of my yarn usage and stuff. So sorry, thought I was about to sneeze, but I think I'm okay. Maybe it's just gonna be a cough. I am still recovering from RSV that I got over the holidays. It was no joke. So I do still have a little bit of postnasal drip happening, which is weird because it's like I have allergies, but I don't. So anyway, stumbled into a commercial wool booth one that I didn't know. So this is yarn. I'm going to show you yarn by the company Knit Pro. You know, the knitting needle company. They also make yarn, and they indie dye it in India. So that helps make it a little more affordable, because labor in India is inexpensive compared to, you know, an indie dyer here in the States who's supporting a family. Not because, you know, they're also important, but what got me more was that these colors were really perfect with my swatch, and they really helped do the green gradient that I was looking for. And by the way, this blue is the same yarn. It's just leftover. I had one skein left over from this project, so and it's enough to make this sweater, because each color needs about 200 or so yards, except for one color. The third color, you need about 500 yards, so which is why I ended up buying 2 skeins, or maybe a little less, maybe like 400. So yeah, I saw these two and just fell in love. They're really affordable. They are 100% superwash merino, dyed in India, made in spun and dyed in India, as far as I know. And that's the brand name. You may have seen it yourself at your local yarn shop. They had really great selection of tonal colors, so it was really easy to find these, and I just really love them. I think this is really gonna round out my sweater. So there you go. I bought these 5 to go with the oranges, the rusty oranges, and the yellow that I already have for this sweater project. That'll be a fun project. I'm gonna want to make this soon because it is DK and I want to be able to wear it if I can, although that'll be a great, because it's mostly superwash, it'll be a really nice like summer sweater to put on chillier evenings, or when I go like away from New York City, like to the beach or to the mountains. It's almost always cool at night in this region, so yeah, really cool. I'm excited. That'll be a fun project. Yeah, from there, so after I made that purchase, my shopping was done. So we continued to just look at what was on offer and wander around. And one of the things that I had forgotten that Vogue does is they have a lot of artists set up their like textile and fiber artists set up their work. And there was this booth that I had never seen before there that was these life-size knitted cats in all different poses. They were adorable. It was such a fun booth. There were even knitted mice. It wasn't clear to me, and I didn't stop to ask questions, if she was selling the patterns. I know you could buy the cats, which was cool. I hope she does a great job. Like, I hope she blows out and everything sells. Because they were really, really interesting, really cool. Nice way to have a cat if you're allergic or something. And yeah, just fun. And then we also saw other yarn fiber artists that I had seen before, like Mochi Mochi Land had a little setup there. It was all cat oriented as well. There were knitted, fashionable, like high fashion knitted garments on display that were really creative and fun, and I'm sure they're going to be in the fashion show today, or maybe have already been in the show today or whatever. And there was a quilter embroidering artist that I had never seen before, and we stopped to chat with her. She made art. Her art focused right now on water towers. So water towers in New York are pretty ubiquitous. You see them everywhere, and they're like low-tech technology to help give apartment buildings water pressure. So if you put the water, fill the water tank, and the water tank is what everyone draws their water from, it creates pressure down for all the apartments below. So it's really, really cool. I wonder if I have a water tower here. I'm not sure. Some of the many, if they've been refurbished, the apartments don't have them, but you do see a lot of water towers in New York, all over. And funny enough, I had collected some water tower art a while ago, like I want to say like 2 decades ago. I'll put a clip in here of my of the painting that I bought from an artist. I started to collect art from artists directly when I was in grad school for my MFA, for my studio art degree, and I started to have a deeper appreciation for art and understanding of art. So I collected her work then. So yeah, seeing these water towers, I was like, ooh, cool. I could add like another water tower piece to my collection. And they were really interesting. I did end up buying a piece. This is what I'm talking about, water tower wise. The artist is named Anne Cofta. I'll put her info down below if you want to check out her Instagram or her website. And I purchased this very small piece, and she numbered her water towers. This is water tower number 1. Sorry about the reflection. I hope you're getting a good look at it. It's I believe it is, just looking for my glasses, I think the black and white is fabric, and then everything else you're seeing is embroidered. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. So the black and the grid lines on the tower itself are printed, but then the legs and the top of the water tower are embroidered. So I just really, really loved it. Pick that up. And then I made one other purchase, like in our wandering about, like we're just kind of like chatting with people that we know and saying hi, and also looking at booths that had something stand out or was interesting. And there was a booth called Red Hill Fiber, and they are a mill and indie dyer, so they spin their own yarn. They're based in, I think he said Indiana, and I think it was Indiana, not Illinois, somewhere in that region. So based there, they spin wool themselves and then dye it. They have a line of their own yarn, and then they also make yarn that like dye yarn for, in this case, for Rebecca Yarros, which if you know who that is, she's the author of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. They had reached out to her and got licensed to be the providers of yarn and fiber inspired by characters from her books, from those 2 books. And those 2 books there's going to be a series. Like, I hope you know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, you may want to check it out. They were like far and away blowout New York Times bestsellers for books for 2023. And so very, very popular, kind of YA romance-ish, but not that young, because there is some violence and sex and stuff in the books. And apparently they were her first foray into that genre. Like, she's written many other books, but never of that genre. So anyway, check it out. But it's basically a fantasy novel about a young woman who becomes a dragon rider. So it's definitely got like that sort of vibe. So they have the license now to produce knit and crochet patterns, to produce yarn, all these things inspired by and other materials. Like, I bought this sticker from them. Anything that has a quote from the book. So anything that has anything about the book and knitting, they have the rights to produce. Where no one else does. So I was like, we were really impressed. We ended up chatting with the owner for a while. He told us about the process of getting that license and that they have other licenses in the works. I guess with their mill and ability to dye, as indie dyers, they're in a nice position. Although they said that they're really busy, and like the Rebecca Yarros inspired yarn and fiber has really taken off. Although, like, I have to say, like, looking at it, I was a little disappointed by the range of color. Like, I thought it was a little less interesting than I think it could have been. And maybe that's just something that happens like in your mind, like you have this like certain, I think it's hard, you know, as a creative person maybe to create a yarn that's inspired by a character, you know, from a book or something. So that might be why it wasn't as interesting to me to look at as I expected. Like I just expected something different. Like I was just like looking at it for a while as he was talking, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know, the yarn's not doing it for me. Like I'm not really I don't want to buy any of it. Like I'm not interested in knitting anything in these colors. But I've put a clip on screen, I'm sure, so you could see the yarn by now. But yeah, anyway, you can let me know what you think. Maybe it's just not my colors. And also like he did say that yarn just blows out every time they have any in their shop. It just goes. So it may be that they have more colors and a bigger range, but they just didn't have it all on them, or they didn't have it with them. And they also told us that they ended up leaving some of their display at home, so they weren't able to, like accidentally, so they weren't able to show everything that they had bought. We wanted to support them, even though like I was done shopping and stuff. We went ahead and purchased to share this stitch marker set that is, let me take one off, that is inspired by tarot cards. So they're like just laser cut wood tarot card. I need glasses to see what one I just showed you. That is the Priestess. So I think it's a lot of the major arcana. It looks like the Empress, the Tower, Star, Sun, and Hierophant, I think. Yes. So yeah, those are fun. Those were very fun. We ran into Beth McDonald Stone, who is a knitwear designer who lives in Bermuda, and she loves New York. So anytime there's a New York event, she flies in. It seems we'd seen her at Rhinebeck, and we saw her at Vogue last night, and we asked her what she was doing for dinner, and she didn't have any plans. So we invited her to come to dinner with us, and we went up the block a couple. Walked up through Times Square, which I'll show you now, and we went to a really nice Italian restaurant on 48th Street. I don't remember the name, La Massera, I want to say it's called, but I feel like I'm missing a syllable. It's a nice little Italian place. It is New York Restaurant Week, so we ended up getting a really good deal on our dinner. New York Restaurant Week, usually restaurants will offer price fix meals where you get an appetizer, main course, and dessert for one price. You know, you choose among the options that they give you. So they had that. It was an awesome deal. We all went for it. And yeah, it was really, really cool. It was very enjoyable. We had a very enjoyable evening. I don't have any videos of that. And then from there we made our way home and crashed. And yeah, here we are the next day. So I am excited to get my yarns caked and do some more swatching, especially with this one, to make sure that all those colors are working for me. I think they will. I'm not. Especially the blue and greens. Those are going to be amazing. I think everything else will be fine too. The pinks. And yeah, I need to cast on something new. We'll see what happens. I hope you're doing well. I will be back in 2 weeks with more knitting content where I'll get you an update on all my projects, and hopefully I'm sure I'll have a new cast on by then, and perhaps a finished object or two, at least one, because I already did finish one. But yeah, anyway, I will see you in 2 weeks time, and take care. Bye.